We've been talking about the 6 root afflictions that are the chief things that keep us in cyclic existence. And we just started talking about the 6th one, afflicted views, and there's 5 kinds. So yesterday we talked about view of a personal identity, which is the view that thinks that there's a real solid person here. Okay, so this is also it fits in with ignorance. And this view of a personal identity looks at the conventional self and holds it to be substantially existent, or holds it to be inherently existent, depending on the tenet system. They say different things. But this is the one that keeps us bound in cyclic existence. Then the second view is what's the name of it? View of the extremes. And it is the one that looks at the I that's grasped by this first one, the view of the personality, of the personal identity, and thinks that that I or that self is either an eternal soul or self that's going to continue on infinitely, eternally, or that being, inherently existent or substantially existent at the time of death is just going to cease completely and the person doesn't exist anymore. So this second view, the extreme views, is the one that it's called extreme views because it's either absolutism or nihilism. Absolutism, thinking that the person is some solid thing that never changes in any way, that there's a soul or a supreme self, or that at the time of death, there's nothing, okay? And so both of those are extreme views because in actuality, the person is changing moment by moment. There isn't any kind of findable self that we can latch onto. And yet, the self does conventionally exist in that it is a mere label given to the aggregates. So there is a continuity of the person without there being a findable person. This is very hard for us to grasp because we always like to cling on to things, okay? But this is where I think the idea of a river comes in. We say the Mississippi, and yet the Mississippi at all the different points along where it goes is completely different. There's no one Mississippi River that is solid and concrete at each particular point. And yet we do say the Mississippi goes from, where does it start, in Minnesota or somewhere? Huh? Where, Michigan or Minnesota, Iowa, then down, through Missouri, and it doesn't even touch Mississippi, does it? It goes out through the ocean, through Louisiana. Yeah. Wrong label. Does it border Mississippi? Huh. Okay, well. Does it hit Arkansas?
It borders Arkansas.
Oh, okay. Okay, so he's got to be an expert on it then. Okay, but you can see that, it's not one solid concrete thing. It's something that changes. There's a continuity, and, yet there's nothing findable we can identify. So it's the same thing with the person. And so in that way, that's why those 2 extreme views are incorrect, why they're called afflicted views. Okay? And you can see how holding either one of those afflicted views can get us in trouble. Okay, in the sense that if we hold an absolutist view, that there's some kind of eternal self, then what we postulate as the path to enlightenment is going to be very different, or what we postulate as the path to liberation is going to be very different than, if you have a Buddhist view. Yeah, because then, if there's a creator that created this immutable self, then we have to please the creator, da-da-da-da-da, okay? Or if we have a nihilist view that the person just simply totally ceases to exist at death, then we think, well, let's do whatever I want, whatever feels good, as long as I don't get caught, because there's not going to be any influence later on, you know, of my actions now. Okay, so those kind of views can act as the underlying thing for a lot of harmful actions.